go ahead and call to order the July meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Sonia, can you call roll, please?
Will Dockery.
Here.
Andrew Brink.
Here.
Julie Chambers. Here. Joel Fryant.
Here.
Hugh Kincaid.
Here.
Stephen Shealy.
Here.
Yari Davis.
Here.
Doug Walsh.
Here.
Sarah Downing.
All right, let's go ahead and approve the minutes. Any changes or additions or subtractions?
Move we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve by Joel, a second by Andrew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, now we'll have our Ozark Volleyball Club presentation by Doc Cox.
All right. Well, appreciate y'all inviting us out to discuss the club. Ozark Volleyball began partnership with the city back in 1979 with fewer than 20 players or members or participants that love to play the game. Over the years, members have come and gone, but once you're in the club, you're like family, and the love for the game has always been there. Got involved with Ozark Volleyball back in '83 when I came up to the university to attend college. I couldn't tell you the number of friends that I've made throughout the club over the years, and once you get involved, you become family. Today we have over 2,500 members on our Facebook page. Really doesn't mean a whole lot, but we do have that. Last year in 2001, we had 238 unique players throughout our leagues, and then another 250 plus in the tournaments that we ran. This year, already in our first season of leagues, we have 230 unique players. A good number of the teams for the tournaments come from outside the city of Fayetteville. We're currently hosting leagues on Sunday through Thursday. We have an intermediate co-ed doubles on Sunday, Queen of the Beach format on Monday for the ladies, Tuesday King of the Beach for the big guys, and then Wednesday a competitive four co-ed, and then Thursday a competitive doubles co-ed. And then we normally host 2 tournaments a month, with our biggest one being the Big Dog Tournament at the end of the season in September. For the tournament, Big Dog Tournament last year, we had teams from all over Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, had 1 team from California, 1 team from Colorado, 2 teams from Florida, 4 from Louisiana, 2 from Tennessee, and 1 from Texas. Most of those teams travel with their family members when they attend, so that's a decent little impact to the community as far as the spending that they do. The one thing that's kept players coming back is our amazing facility that we've been blessed with there at Veterans Memorial Park. With permission of the city and help from the Parks Department, we've established the best courts in what I call the 6-state area. Over the 40 years that the club's been involved or been around, we have given back to the community around $300,000 in funding of the courts, maintaining the area, fencing, adding sand, purchase equipment, and that's why we have the best courts in the area. The only thing that's limited us in the growth so far has been the number of courts. 4 years ago, 4 years ago, we added the 4th court, and we need to really add 5, 6, maybe 7 to continue to grow. The main focus of the club is to improve the level of play of each player through leagues, clinics, and tournaments. 2019, we contracted with Dane Blanton, Olympic gold medalist, to host his Getting to Gold clinic here in Fayetteville and in Bentonville. It was a huge success both days. If you don't know Dane, Dane is current head coach of USC women's beach team that's currently, and also a current AVP announcer. USC has won the national championship the last 2 years under Dean's leadership. He's the gold medalist, and we're trying to get him to come back in 2023 to do the same type, style, and clinic with us. The Big Dog is our longest running tournament. It started in '84, I believe, was the first year that we had it. We were hosting it in September 17th and 18th of this year. I'd like to invite everybody out to the courts to witness what's going on. It'll be the best volleyball you see, unless you watch AVP on TV. And then you'll see a little bit better. We do have a couple of players that do participate in AVP tournaments too. We're looking at trying to get AVP America to come in. There's some catches in that contract, but we're working through that. I believe did we get a YouTube sent over?
Couldn't get the video to work, sorry.
Couldn't get the video. Yeah, that was good promotion
There's a promotional video
for the Big Dog tournament. Shows everybody having a great time out the courts and some of the play that goes on. Leagues go on all week pretty much. Saturday and Friday are the only 2 open days at the moment. Anytime you're out the court, swing by. I'm only there on Wednesdays now, too old to play in the doubles leagues, so I stick with the 4-man league. And that's pretty much all I have, unless y'all have some questions for me. I'd be happy to answer any of them. Been a great partnership and love what all we do with it.
Mr. Cox, what's your position with the group?
Old guy that's still around. I'm the president of OVC.
And how long have you been?
Started in '83, president, and I don't know, I didn't show up for a meeting, they nominated me back in like 90 maybe. Been there ever since. Clem Johnson was a guy that hung around for years and years and did everything. He retired from the club, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago. So he took care of 90% of it and did everything, and I've been the guy in the background, and now I guess I get to be the guy in the front, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you added courts at Veterans Park, you wouldn't have as much shade in those other spots.
Well, actually, if you take the green space away, we figured out we can put 3 courts in there with 1 fencing around it. And the fencing is one thing that's unique about our facility. Anywhere else you go, there's 8, 12, 16, 20 courts, but it's 1 fenced-in area. Balls go back and forth from courts. Ours are unique that each court is individual. We could put 3 courts out there with 1 fence around it and still have enough room to operate as far as ABP goes.
Any idea what it costs to put in a new court?
In today's pricing, I have no idea. Back in 17, we put in court for it was like $19,000.
That included the sand, I'm assuming the poles and then the fencing.
Sand and renting a tractor and one of the club members digging everything out, and we put the poles in, we put the irrigation system in, spread the rock, spread the sand.
So twice as much.
Yeah, probably. We do a lot of labor, so yeah. There was talk about some courts out at Kessler Mountain, and we were excited about that, but that's kind of got pushed back and back.
So would you be okay with courts on opposite sides of the city?
Right now, we're running leagues in Bentonville, on the 4 courts up there and 4 courts down here. So we call it the north and south. You know, we try and play each other every now and then. But yeah, any courts anywhere we could utilize and grow the sport even more.
What would you say if, I mean, the parks can only do so many things for so many people.
Right.
You can't have all the volleyball courts and all of the baseball fields and all of the things that everybody wants.
Right.
And then there's nothing left for some other things.
True.
What could be done if the city said, we just can't do any more courts here? You already got some in Bentonville.
Right.
Would it be possible, worthwhile to work on getting agreements with or working with other cities in the area and setting up courts so that you have a whole area to play?
It could be
a little
feasible.
difficult.
You could run different leagues on the same nights, different areas, and that could work out. We ran everything in Bentonville for 4 years, and it was a money loser. We just couldn't get enough teams. The city came in and took over all of it. Now they pay us to manage and run the league itself and pay us per game. So it turned around from us losing $3,000 or $4,000 a year to making 2 or 3 off of it. So that was a good deal. The downside is the competition's not there. The higher level players come to Fayetteville to play. Fayetteville's just got a lot better courts and it's maintained better. And so the more competitive players are traveling down here. We got 2 couples that travel from Fort Smith on a weekly basis to come up and play. Then our tournaments would grow everywhere. I mean, everywhere somebody comes from for the tournaments.
Do you ever have parking issues at Veterans?
Well, we used to have a lot of parking issues, but now they don't park on the grass. There's no grass there, so people park anywhere that they can. We've started
Care
parking
that problem.
in the business center to the south.
It's not ideal.
No, it's not.
It's not ideal.
Not at all, but we park in the business center. A lot of us older ones park in the business center, walk through. There's a walkway to the courts that we've kept clean and maintain that as part of the park. And they don't have a problem with it. They've given it, Ozark Dermatology has given us permission to do that. Haven't talked to IRS, and they're in that building too.
What's the plan over for Kessler by the entrance, kind of where the playground is?
By Kessler, I have no idea.
Is that where the courts?
Well, no, there's
No.
kind of space there, but what is there?
The master plan
The
calls for
amphitheater's
a green.
further back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of that whole green space that's east of the playground down to the pond. So there was a plan there for amphitheater and just a great lawn area, green space, just open green space. Yeah, there was on the south side of the creek
Right,
was where a lot of the courts are really planned.
yeah. But
Tennis courts
haven't
and
we kind of
volleyball.
put trails and stuff there?
Biking trails, yeah, we need to get a Walton to play volleyball is what we need. Been working on that.
Do y'all ever use a court at Wilson Park?
At Wilson Park, no, it's not, as high a standard as the ones at Veteran.
If that was converted to 2 good courts there, would you think it'd be well used?
2 is the minimum that you have to run anything. 1 just is for recreational play only. You can't run any leagues or tournaments or anything. Ideally, the more courts you have in one spot, the better off you are. A few years ago, 19, I guess it was, when Little Rock flooded real bad, the Juniors National contacted us about hosting Juniors Nationals here, but they needed 10 courts, and we had 4 in Bentonville and 4 here, so we couldn't do it. They wound up going to Fort Smith, I believe.
So in you said a 6-state area, is that right? So in areas such as, I don't know, within an hour and a half drive, what other areas are hosting tournaments of like the junior national?
Little Rock, Fort Smith, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Springfield, St. Louis, Memphis. Everybody hosts tournaments. You can get on the Facebook pages and look. There's tournaments every weekend if you want to travel and play.
And what do you think the attendance would be for a tournament of that size in terms of families or spectators or whomever?
Now, Juniors National, you're talking 100 teams of 4, or well, two subs. So depending if they travel with 4 or 2. So a huge economic impact to whatever city did
And
those.
so I'm assuming I'm assuming it's a very summer oriented.
Yes.
Okay. How many tournaments do you think could be hosted if you had a complex large enough to host such a tournament?
1 a month easily. Right now, there's juniors are traveling. This weekend, they're going to Springfield, all the junior teams for a tournament. They just had one in Tulsa, had one in Dallas this summer already. My daughter doesn't play. My son's not involved, so I'm not really involved in the juniors, but Ozark Juniors, Jenny takes care of all of that, and I hear a little bit of who all's going there. Nationals just completed, and we had a team, local team, Ozark Juniors 17 Elite, got 3rd in the nation indoors this past weekend. We got one player here, KP, Kenna Thielen from Fayetteville, is in the running for the volleyball player of America right now. So go out on the website and vote for her. We're a little behind Missouri players winning.
One of the issues at Veterans Park is the usable land is a pretty small footprint. And from a safety point of view, it's the only section of the trail around Lake Fayetteville that pedestrians and bicyclists are sharing the space with cars.
Right.
So, a possible solution at some point might be to cut through that center section so kids on bikes and women with strollers aren't sharing the trail with a big pickup truck. So I'm just pointing that out as something that may become, may cross the desks of the park department sometime, just so you can
Definitely.
know that that's a
It's the largest
legitimate
green space.
concern.
It's the largest green space in all the parks, if I'm remembering right, so. This is, well, non-used green space in all the parks.
What about the reimagination of Walker Park? Is that a spot that could potentially, I don't know what the footprint is, but even 4 courts is not a huge footprint, I'm guessing, from a,
Right.
I mean, it's probably like an acre, maybe less than an acre.
There's a lot of parks
Just a thought, as a place that could potentially fit that somewhere, pretty flat,
Look at
pretty
Gully.
usable.
Takes an acre for 4 courts?
I mean,
No, it's what,
probably not even
60
that.
by 120, 60 by 124 courts.
By the time you put the space around
Yeah,
them,
it gets
I bet
10
you you're
foot.
getting close to an acre.
bleachers.
That's an issue. We would love to have that for the big dog. I tried to find some to even rent for the spectators. We went ahead and got a beer garden set up last year for the big dog in Rockwell. It did okay. I mean, we didn't lose any money off of it. So it was an interesting concept, something new for me, dealing with the ABC board and getting all that approved. But we're trying to rent bleachers and even contacting schools if we could just borrow your bleachers for the day, bring them back. And there are no bleachers around anywhere. And we don't need them, 2 times a year.
Well, from what I can tell, you guys do a good job being a steward of your space at Veterans Park. Got your shower.
Yeah. Makeshift shower out there because the shower on the building hadn't been fixed since we did the plumbing. I don't know what happened there, but
Yeah,
I'll get with Byron on that.
seems like it's a well-used park space.
It is. I mean,
It's a great
you go out
sport.
there and everybody there has a love for the game and do anything for it. So helps out when everybody's involved doing the same mission.
All right, any other questions?
If not, good night. I appreciate the
Thank you very
opportunity to come out.
Coming.
Appreciate you coming.
Y'all have a good one now.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
There's definitely some places around the town that we could probably work with, especially with the master plan coming up and through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
My question is, it seems that tournaments of that size, and maybe I'm missing the total impact, but or in terms of land impact, but it seems that would be a good way to drive A&P. If you're able to host one tournament a month, and I think veterans is a challenge with space. I'm not as familiar with the Kessler master plan, but we also have a little small area over in West Fayetteville that I don't know that there's been plans. Is there an option to put in a larger court over at Underwood? Is that a viable thing?
I think it's probably viable. I think we can even fit some in at Bryce Davis. There's definitely some places.
Gully.
Could do. Could Gully, it's not in the master plan.
Right.
The flat space really just.
It'd be easy to do a quick, study of where we could put sand volleyball courts and what makes sense. The great thing about sand volleyball courts is they're not very expensive to build, which is nice. And maintenance isn't too bad on them either. So they're good facilities, and they do very well from the community side of bringing people together and working well, especially in a community type park where you kind of
It looks good seeing people out there playing.
That's why, at the hub building, that space right behind it at Wilson is sand volleyball right now. If we could get that to fit two, then that starts to really feed in real well.
so my concern is that we're kind of talking about all these little places, and what I don't want to do is build a bunch of little 2-court things if we're gonna add like 10 courts for a city. It seems to me that, number one, their need is like 10 courts altogether. And then number two, it would be cool to have some of those things, like little courts all over, but that's not what the club needs, right? And that's not what's gonna help us with the A&P that we're talking about.
And even just the 4 courts, with the parking needs that come with that, we have to make sure that wherever we're tucking these in, we can park
Right,
people.
we can already park people there. And especially, they're talking about 400 or 100 teams, 4 people each. That's like 1,000 people easy at a place, so.
I think that's kind of where I was leading at. I know at least hearing from them, they said they had spent $300,000 in CapEx, and I think if you have a partnership with an entity that is willing to reinvest back into the park system, I really want to help those folks with drawing in crowds, and I want Fayetteville to be a place for everybody to love as much as I do, and so I would want to find a way to help others enjoy Fayetteville in the same way that we all do. And I think having a volleyball tournament is a great way to do that. So that's my 2 cents on Underwood.
Yeah, so we're soon gonna be in the master plan process for Underwood and for Walker.
I think Walker feels like in some ways a really good fit just because youth baseball is kind of moving out or redoing it. I don't know exactly what's happening with that, but it's not really happening there right now. You've already got like kickball tournaments. You've already got kind of that adult league place. It's got tons of street parking plus some element of pretty good parking. I think that's it's also, I think, fits better than Kessler a little bit. I don't, Underwood I'm not familiar with, but it fits better in that community kind of space a little bit more. And Kessler is big events, but it's still out there a little bit in a lot of people's brains, whereas that's just kind of right there, right on the trail, super accessible for people to ride to, be part of it. So,
Yeah.
I'm supportive of, as they are, putting the 4 4 courts or 6 courts or whatever it is to help them do their full-blown tournaments. I think that's a great idea, but I'm just putting my 2 cents that I think Walker
I
would be a
think
great
Walker's
fit.
a great spot. I mean, and I think for a redesign of baseball fields that really will have reached really their end of life, considering there's replacement at Kessler, I think that's a decent option that should be considered.
Could you have a baseball tournament and a volleyball tournament at the same time at Walker Park?
I don't
think you could have both at
Walker
either
doesn't
place.
host baseball tournaments. Most of your baseball tournaments are going to be held at Kessler and Gary Hampton and maybe
White River.
Yeah.
The older kids.
There can be a lot of recreational play, which isn't the tourism type play on these facilities. So having them in a park that's kind of in town more makes a lot of sense because they can get a lot of use that way. I don't know that they get as much use out of Kessler.
Some of the comments from master planning people, from the public came in. A lot of people wanted to see just open green space. And the more we take away to give for this sport and that sport and this sport, the less we have for open green space where people can do anything. They can play soccer, they can run, they can do anything. So there has to be balance, and I don't know. I don't know how to do that, but
I think
we
Walker's a
have
good
to
fit
do
because you're taking away baseball stadium, something that's not open green space, and you could potentially put those in. You could put those in and still be increasing total green space at Walker potentially.
especially if it's set up right so that the courts are
Pickleball,
not
too.
in the middle of the green space and there isn't big green space.
Right, yeah.
I think coupling a lot of these kind of small court areas in Walker is something we've been talking about because it'll use space efficiently because it's we're very tight on space in the inner city, so we want to be as efficient as we can. But if you can partner these kind of groups together, you can really get a space that really works well.
Is there sand pickleball?
I think you just created
Yeah, we took tennis and made pickleball, now we'll make beach pickleball. Great idea.
Double duty for those sports.
Sandband.
Does the city have any collapsible or movable bleachers that a group like this could borrow
They're
or?
not necessarily collapsible, and I'll probably reach out to Don afterwards and see what kind of requirements he may need. But we do have bleachers in all of our baseball parks that we could mobilize or they could come and utilize for the big dog tournament. Something we need to work out logistically wise.
Yeah, would that be something the city could rent or to kind
We
of?
probably wouldn't rent. We probably we own those bleachers in our ballparks, and they're may or may not be being used during big dogs. So if that's the case, we could certainly let them use them. We did that similarly with the World Championship event up at Centennial. We let Experience Fayetteville and their event management team utilize our bleachers for that event. So it's something that we've done before and happy to do again.
So can we let the master planning people know that we kind of talked about this?
Yeah.
Because I think we got some pretty good stuff here, and I don't want it to, so I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the board would too.
Meeting next week.
That's right.
So.
All right, Yari, you're up. Active
Hi.
transportation update.
Apologize for missing the last meeting. It was 12:30 at night in Portugal, and I didn't have very good internet. So anyway, apologies. So it's kind of not a whole lot, honestly, to report that relates directly to parks. I mean, the main thing is we've got the Ramble section complete. Hopefully everybody's seen it. I rode through it last night with the lights on all the circular things.
Nice.
Really cool.
Nice.
The really nice big cedar benches and stuff to put in, so it's all finished. So that's exciting for us. Also wanted to note and thank the FPD. They've got their 2 trail officers running through the parks on both the electric ATV and the electric bikes. I've seen them, and I think that's great. I'm hopeful that they can find a way to staff those positions before too long, more full time. Rupel Road, not really by a park, but it's almost done, progressing really well. That's going to be done shortly. Trenton, not progressing as fast as I would hope. Hopefully I'll get an update next week, but it's hopefully going to be done soon.
What's that?
Trenton is coming off of College to Wilson Park, right to the pool. And it's where they're putting in the section. The Trenton's a pretty tight little street, so they're doing it such that basically one lane is going to be kind of an experiment. It's going to be the trail, and it's slightly raised, but cars can still kind of go up onto it if they need to pass each other. So it'll be interesting when it finishes, and if you get feedback, it's something I'd like to pass on to, because I have mixed feelings about how it's going to work, and it's really the only place we've tried.
What happens if that experiment doesn't work? Because we've done some other
Then
experiments
you almost
in
have to
town,
make
and then-
you almost have to make Trenton one way,
Yeah.
and that would be what you'd have to do. Did you make Trenton one way?
Okay.
And it's still a little bit tight, even if you make it one way, because residents park on that street.
Sure.
So it's an interesting thing. So then hopefully
Default
that'll
10 mile per hour road.
Well, no one drives on the streets either, so
yeah.
a lot of fun there.
Yeah, so anyway, that's moving along. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, Salagi Trail. Okay. They redid that little section by the UA tennis courts that they put in, and their new little bike park, which if you like.
Can you say that again? Because that was one of my questions for tonight.
Salagi.
Salagi.
So that's been redone, and I think it works quite well. Also along that, they got some new intersections as you're going back towards college that are all automatic lighted. I don't know if y'all are noticing those, but I think those are great too. Anybody goes through them, it automatically puts those warning lights on that somebody is crossing as their motion triggered. And probably going to be moving more of those in. And big improvements coming on Appleby Road. If y'all know that, Appleby Road goes from college right there by Goodwill over to Washington Regional. Kind of connects that part, and they're looking at putting a 2-lane connector trail, so the bikes would be 2-lane on the south side, and then separated by big bumper things.
Armadillos.
Yep. And then the other thing that kind of I think is interesting that just if anybody has feedback on is there's a lot of push, and a couple of citizens have pushed for pedestrian-led intersection crossings. Which I don't know if y'all are familiar with those, but it's where when you press the button to cross, it gives you a couple of seconds, or 3 to 7 seconds, depending on how it's set up, before the light actually turns. So that the pedestrian kind of gets to get into the intersection first, and there's been a lot of studies on them that they're safe. There's one at Sycamore and Poplar right now, because that was a real problem for people making lefts and going into it. So anyway, it works really well there, and hopefully we'll see some more.
You're saying the pedestrian's button actually controls the signal?
It doesn't. I mean, it does control.
In most places, it does not. It
Like a
turns it-
hotel thermostat.
And then it lights up the pedestrian walk.
Yes, this would. It doesn't necessarily, overwhelm the traffic timing if it's a timed signal. Some of our signals do have timing, so certain times of the day you can actually press them and cross, and it automatically changes for you. Whereas busier times of the day it doesn't. I think that's great. Whoever would get feedback on that, more of those would be fantastic. But this is more in that it gives when the pedestrian is set to cross and that light's going to turn green, and maybe have a turn arrow or whatever. The pedestrian gets anywhere from 3 to 7 seconds, depending on how it's the length of the intersection, to start. So their walk light turns green and everybody's red for a moment.
Okay, so
So that's what it means. It doesn't necessarily get you all the way across, but it gets you so you're clearly visible in the intersection.
so they can all.
Keep people from making that hard, fast right and just smashing into somebody. Like if you're walking across Dixon at college, you got to be super careful about taking that walk because people are just looking to run you over all the time. So this kind of helps fix that problem. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. Hopefully they'll get that Trenton thing done and the rest of the work around Wilson Park soon, and move on to Mission.
I do like the pedestrian. So I've been riding my bike more now that it's summertime, and so I like the idea of not having to worry less about somebody turning right as I'm trying to cross through. So I think that's a great idea. I did have a question for I guess Byron, and I understand he may not be here, but at Gordon Long Park, the sidewalk for folks to access Gordon Long from basically Township to Gordon Long, if you're walking north, there's the bridge that runs under Gregg, and the overgrowth has almost come over into basically the full side of the sidewalk. So if somebody is walking or riding on the sidewalk to avoid Gregg, you cannot see the person on the other side coming from Gordon Long. So I don't know if that's a city maintenance thing. I don't know if it's a landowner, but I don't know who would own the little tunnel that's under there. But in terms of the active transportation, there's a little bit of a hard way to see somebody on the other side.
We can get with Byron on it.
Yuri, I don't know. Do we already have pedestrian light over by Owl Creek on Ruppel and Persimmon? Because when those children cross to go to back and forth
Back to
between,
the youth center?
yeah,
I'm pretty certain that's all
because I think
fully done. Although I don't know it's pedestrian led. It would be a good place to have a pedestrian led.
Yeah.
because there are several times during the day, like they're walking buses essentially.
So, yes, my daughter went to Owl Creek, so I'm familiar with that. Yeah, I'll mention that as a great intersection potentially to test that pedestrian led and get that moving in more spots. But what's the cross street to Ruppel?
Persimmon, I believe.
Persimmon. That's all I got. Unless anybody else something to know.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Joel, you're up.
Yep, it didn't happen at the last meeting, and then since then, a new Paul Pruitt has been hired as a new director of the Botanical Garden. I'm not quite sure when he starts, it will be relatively soon. And we're still working on, the HR people are working on job descriptions and everything else that goes along with it, and there are a number of changes. And that's about, there's an issue with healthcare and trying to get healthcare for the employees. It's something, and Allison, I would like to talk with you after the meeting about some possibilities, some things.
Okay.
I meant, you scooted out last time and I missed you. That's okay.
Calling you out on.
I will linger longer this time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the biggest thing, that we have a new director, and the hospitality director is what he calls himself. That's not the job.
What the board calls him?
The board calls him that too. He calls it that himself because he says his job is to make sure people come to the garden, enjoy themselves, and have a good time. And that's what they call the people at Disney. They're in the hospitality business, and he says we're in the same business. And he keeps lots of data, and he's been working on expanding the diversity of the people who come to the park in many ways. And we find that a good thing, and we're working with him on it. That's about all that really happened.
We're looking forward to the Firefly
Firefly Fling is coming up, yes. And best get your tickets, it fills.
I think it's going to be a good firefly season too. I've been seeing a bunch
Yeah.
of
Should
houses
be.
this year.
Have you?
They're right in town.
Thick.
They're thick.
Yeah, it's great.
Seen any in our yard yet.
All right. Thank you, Joel. All right, Ted, parkland dedication trails on the creek update. Sure.
Let's see, sorry.
Look like the right spot. Thanks, Lee. Chair. All right, we've got two. Zach's not here, so I'm stepping in for him. So we're going to be looking at the trails on the creek. This is one that came here before, a modification to that, and then Twin Creeks. So trails on the creek. Some of y'all were on the board, so you may remember this. This was at Mud Creek. Some apartments. At first, they were actually put on the point. Later, they were moved off that point, and that's when we got real excited about it because it added to that long linear park. And I'll show you some pictures on that in just a second. But it was presented to PRAB in 2020. It had 321 multifamily units, and PRAB moved to accept the land dedication, but nothing about a fee in lieu, and that's kind of one of the things that we're going to need to modify. The land dedication at the time was approximately 6.42 acres, which met the requirement for what they would need. And there's been change since then. It's reduced the amount of land to be dedicated, requiring a mixture of fee and dedication, or at least the ability for them to do that. And some of the areas that recently the developer proposed in the latest drawings are not suitable for PLD, and we wish to add this concern to our recommendation. So I'll go over that with y'all as we go through this. So please stop me if you got any questions. But kind of going back to June of 2020, this was a request from the developer. And at that time, you can see the trails would like to donate enough land basically to cover their dedication. So that's what they were moving forward at. But as they moved through the process, I think that became less doable and they weren't able to get as much property as we wanted to.
Didn't we realize that there was really nothing we could do with that land except maybe put a little trail on it or something? It's like
Yeah,
steep.
it was going to be adding on to that corridor,
Yeah.
so trails, and then the ability to get and enjoy that creek.
Okay.
Yeah, part of the thought though was it's a shale, there's a shale barren in there, right? And then it's also, isn't there a shale barren on like the bluff?
There's an open area, but the whole thing was open. Remember those historical photographs that had been
Right.
clear cut at one
it'd have
time?
been- yeah.
And it's been sealing back up. So I don't know if there's, I
thought
didn't see anything that made me think it was a shell bearing there.
I may be misremembering, but I thought part of it was we were looking more for like a natural park area for that place. Is that?
Yeah, I think it does have a neighborhood park function to some degree, definitely not a traditional neighborhood park, but it
But
does
what's
have.
also some of our concern, like there's no other land in that area, so we're
Yeah,
trying
I think when I get to some of these maps, you'll kind of see some of the main points. But anyway, at the time, they thought they were going to be able to give us enough land to handle their parkland dedication. So here's from there. So this green area was what was going to be the parkland. And then they needed to do a tree preservation area, and they were giving us this area. It worked well with the park because this is real steep and it just blends into the park. So those two went well together, you might say, just in this area. We did talk at the meeting about this is an area we did not want. We didn't feel that was suitable for a park. I'll talk you.
Ted, what's the current language on the land right along the creek?
This right here?
But yeah, all along there, under the bridge and everything.
Yeah, this is city-owned right here.
Okay.
So what we were doing is adding to that city-owned stretch, basically.
That bridge will be open soon, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the dates are, but they're definitely moving along on construction. So, this piece, that was adding on to what we have is, a greenway or conservation corridor following the creek. As you can see, there's not much natural area left in this area at all. And it's only, any little pieces are rapidly going away. So the idea that we're preserving what would probably be the biggest kind of natural area in this whole section was kind of where we were going with this.
There's trails through there.
Yes. Yeah, the trail follows along. You can kind of see it coming through.
It's a pretty creek. It looks nice when you drive by it.
It is, and I got some pictures right here. So this is, what, it's really a gem hidden in the city there. So
It needs a better name.
Yeah, maybe we need to think about that. But a great little reprise from the city. And as y'all know, the public's been telling us they want natural spaces, and this is one of those ones that is in a dense area that we could save. So we're excited about that component of it. Just some more shots on the edge. So going back to what was the document that they put together, this was after Parkland and things I think started, after it came to Prab, as they go through more planning, things sometimes start to change. But here's the planning area 2, which is basically the parkland, and then here is the tree preservation as we met before. And this was in their PZD document, so this is what the city council has approved. So recently they came forward with this drawing, which changed things around. There's still the land here, but they added a piece here, which we are not in favor of and don't feel is suitable for the park. We do feel like if they're going to have to work out how much tree preservation and how much parkland, and if they want to change those ratios and give us more of this, which is along that creek following that concept, we're fine with that. So the amount of land that they called out may increase. That's something that they could approach us with, and we wouldn't object. We would object to this because we do not think that's adding to the value of the park, and we don't think it's suitable. I'll show you a little bit more about that too.
How thick is it at its skinniest?
There's a drawing, you'll be able to see it a lot better on it. I'll show you in just a second, Will. The other piece is this was tree preservation, and they had put a piece down as a trail connection, but we never intended a trail to come down through this utility corridor. We were looking at a trail coming through here and tying into this area. So, a 10-foot corridor through here, to put a trail, if they wanted to do that on that west side, that's something we wouldn't object to either. If that helps their numbers, basically, on how to move forward.
What was the impetus for these changes? Did they add more buildings?
They did. They grew a little bit. Their footprint before was probably right about here, and they were at 321 units. Now they're at 331 units, so they did grow a little bit. Here's the new footprint, which back up. See where this is, and you can kind of see that. It seems like it's grown a little bit. I don't have the actual numbers, but anyway, looking at it, this is the piece they now were asking for us to take as parkland dedication. You can see they're grading at a
it's a bluff.
at a rapid slope up. We don't feel this meets parkland dedication. We feel it's not suitable for a variety of reasons, and I'll go into some of this a little bit more with you, but just so you can kind of see that. Zoom in a little more. So I kind of wrote out some of it. Not suitable for its inability to use it for recreation, its inaccessibility, hard to get to, steeply graded slope. It would add significant maintenance burden to us. If anything happened with the slope and it started to come down into here, suddenly we're responsible for that.
Is that all in timber? Is there?
Right now, most of it's in timber, except there's a little open space kind of right here, which that church, if you're up on this top, there's a open space the church has that kind of looks down through here.
The timber wouldn't remain if all this regrading happened.
Yeah, if the grading happens, that timber would not be there anymore. Let's see. And it's just, it's not contiguous with Mud Creek. It's not adding to that component. That was the reason we were wanting to go forward with that dedication.
So Ted, let me ask you a liability question. You can say this is not my wheelhouse. Let's say they have to grade, timber comes off, there's no root system there. We get a rain like we've had before, it slides in there. Who's responsible for that? Is Parks responsible?
That's one of the reasons we don't think ownership makes sense for us. This is a kind of area in service to that development. Engineering will have to look at this, and there's some work maybe that'll be done in the future, but that's not the privy of kind of what we're talking about. So that's about my thoughts on that, I guess, right now.
If you remind me, so I was very new to the board when Kid sent a memo concerning land dedication. And are the reasons laid out here sufficient for defending the position that we don't want a dedication that they're proposing?
I believe they are, but it will be the planning commission that would make it if it went to that step. But some of the examples Kit gave were like under a utility run.
Correct. And I think swamp areas was another issue.
So this to me doesn't meet it.
We walked that area, and that's a steep slope. It's you can't use it for anything really.
And I understand the usability, but I also recall legal's concerns about accepting or rejecting land dedication. I just want to make sure that we're copacetic with with their thoughts as well.
I believe so. I mean, if the developer would like to push this, then, I guess it'll go to the planning commission. The planning commission would have to make a recommendation, and we would, put our argument in with that, I guess.
Wish we had a third option that we weren't required to either do dedication or contribution, but that certain natural areas could be.
It's current, you see the bridge.
Could fulfill
They're working on it.
The need to preserve the canopy. So we're losing so much. And well, that seems to me in Fayetteville, if we had another way to do this, it would be neat. I don't know what that might be, but.
I mean, we do get some of that with the tree preservation.
We do with some of it, yes.
What's the process with this? Is this going back to planning commission because it's such a big change, or is it just
It
administrative?
could. It's kind of gonna, I guess the developer and development services are working through the process right now. And if there's very much modification to the PZD, as I understand it, it would need to go back to planning commission and possibly city council for approval. Some of the things that they've shown are probably enough to do that. Now, they may come back and change that and not go, that's kind of in their ball court as to how they move forward. But anyway, if it does go forward, I think from our standpoint, the recommendation would be that this would not be suitable land for parkland, that particular area right there.
Does the developer have a representative online right now? Or is that for?
I invited them, and I don't think they sent anyone.
Is this a pressing decision for today for them?
I don't know how fast they were moving. We just didn't want them to be held up by parks. So that's kind of why we were moving quickly. As we moved through it, it got more interesting, I guess, as more and more the onion unfolded. But anyway, that's where we are. I mean,
We're bringing it back. Typically, if a development changes significantly, we would bring it back to you guys. And in this instance, the recommendation was for land only. And through this process, Ted has sort of revealed that the land-only option may not be viable. And so we wanted to get this back in front of you in case there is a situation where they need to offset what land may not be dedicated to meet the requirements with fees in lieu. So
I think the accessibility issue alone is significant.
Would you mind covering that? I don't know if you had it in your slide, but your recommendation is to not accept the kind of southwest portion.
This box right here has part of what'll be on the next slide as far as the recommendation. And this yellow is kind of pertaining to this. Staff also recommends declaring the area directly to the south of the proposed buildings and parking lots as not suitable for parkland dedication. And this kind of encapsulates some of the ideas that we've discussed as reasons why it's not suitable. Which may need to be included in the recommendation. I don't know.
Mr. Chair, do we need to make
Yes.
a decision on this? So I make a motion to approve with staff's recommendations. I guess concluding that the area to the south of the proposed buildings and parking lots is not suitable for parkland dedication, with a recommendation for fee in lieu. Does that sufficiently cover?
That covers it. I don't know if that's what staff is actually recommending.
I think we want to be okay for a combination of fee in lieu and land dedications. Is what needs to be in the wording.
Okay, so that would be my
I don't know that you
motion.
covered all the land. Did he cover all the land in what his motion was? That's not suitable.
Essentially, my motion is to confirm what staff is recommending, which is to exclude that land from the dedication and accept a fee in lieu from the original proposal.
You say that part of the land is acceptable.
Yes, so let me get back to that drawing. So this part, if they wanted to give us this, we would find that acceptable. We also would be okay with a corridor through this, basically to this area. for a future trail.
Is there a street there that it ends at?
There is a cul-de-sac that's gonna be right here.
And if I saw correctly, that totals 4.7 acres plus or minus.
Yeah, I think
If they were to give us
4.7 acres would be the smallest amount. If they added, it would grow, which is,
So whatever that differential is. to
yeah. So I didn't want to make it to a specific acreage, but
If they added that circle part, would that take it up to a sufficient amount of land?
I'm not sure if it will. It'd certainly get them a lot closer though. You know, it's a fairly big piece.
I think I could see that happening.
We're getting messed up by our own parking requirements.
You know, I'm not sure what the equation between tree preservation and parkland makes sense for them, so they'll, you know, I'm sure they'll figure that out and then make our,
There's other committees having those conversations right, about impervious cover and trees.
yeah.
I'll second Andrew's motion.
Okay, you wanna restate it again one more time?
Restate
for
the
everyone?
motion.
Let me go
So
back.
I'll restate. So, to approve staff's recommendation, concluding that the land dedication except the area directly to the south of proposed buildings and parking lots as non-suitable, and recommending a fee in lieu.
They'd be allowed to use fee in lieu to cover it.
Correct.
Now that section on there circled has a name. It's like BB or I saw it on one of your other maps.
It's part of
have a-
area 2, or was it 3? Area 3 that's on that map. The other piece that, Andrew, if you don't mind adding, is that other section that we'd accept a trail corridor.
Yes, and as an amendment to my motion, that we would add a trail corridor directly south to the area known as planning area 2.
Or planning area 3 on here.
3, excuse me.
Yeah, really hard on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's tough to read.
Do you remember you said?
So is this being reviewed by engineering?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's currently being reviewed, but I don't know the
Now that's
stats.
that's an old drawing from 2019, right?
Yeah.
Can you go to the? Is that right?
Yeah, this is from the PZD document that they went through and had council approval.
And have they submitted the new drawing with the extended building, the addition of 10 units?
Yeah, so this part changed.
But we don't have a newer drawing.
Well, it was this drawing.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of hard to.
Match up.
It also,
Can you go back one?
did they lose the connection with,
Okay, that's a new drawing.
That, yeah, that one's new.
Yeah.
This was the old one.
Okay. So they're taking a pretty good piece of that light green portion.
Now you see this hard turn, so that's kind of where the park started, which
Yeah.
is probably right about, somewhere right around there.
You're saying that they lose a connection to,
yeah, they added another building. They added a hammerhead for the fire truck, it looks like. And then they took away the connection that they had originally going through that steep area, which makes sense why they couldn't do it.
And another change
Went
since
there.
we talked about it is the
Around
city now has this road coming up and tying into, I don't know the name of the road, that comes out by College and where,
Panera or?
No, this is further.
where the Cane's Chicken Fingers is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, futural.
So we're saying, we wanna reject this, but move to consider a combination of dedication and fee in lieu.
yes, sir,
As recommended by staff.
as recommended by staff.
As recommended by.
So that corridor would go to planning area 2, and doesn't require planning area 3. The corridor goes to the green section, but doesn't have to go through the blue section right there next to it. Yeah, right where your arrow was. Yeah.
You mean the trail corridor?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in reality, it may end up coming over here a little bit.
Right.
Depending on how that goes for construction.
Okay. Is staff confident with the recommendation that we have put out right now, that will be helpful for what you have advised us on?
Yeah, I think the recommendation is saying that it can be a combination of fee and lieu and parkland dedication, and that the portion behind, just south of the buildings and parking lot is not acceptable or not suitable for parkland. But the other little pieces and a trail corridor to the east going down the south is okay.
Okay.
So will we see this
Right.
again when
We probably need Sonia to read us back.
we see it again?
Good luck. Good luck.
Not unless there's another like significant
Yeah,
change,
if-
but no, it shouldn't have to come back again.
They wouldn't have to come back.
If there's something significant, definitely. And if y'all would like it, once we find out, I can bring you back an information item
Yeah,
just
we
to
can
kind of see it.
report back on.
Yeah.
Be nice.
What's the yellow?
That was just so you could see the trail. So there's a trail connection. And, they actually have graded an area for the trail to move through here. You can kind of see it moving up at about 5% right there at the slope.
So are we good with the motion?
Sonia,
You want me to read it?
yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best here.
Okay.
Made a motion to approve staff's recommendation, including that the PLD accept the area directly to the, not accept the area directly to the south with buildings and parking lot as not suitable, and allow to use a fee in lieu as well. Also to accept the trail planning area 2 as parkland.
Trail planning
Is that
area.
according to your map?
No, that's not quite
Yeah,
right.
the face
This
edges
one?
made it look like.
It says planning area 3 is the south part.
Yeah, it's this portion that's contiguous to the main park portion.
We want the eastern section of planning area 2.
Except the eastern area.
We don't want the western.
I thought it was this. I thought you wanted to include that, Ted.
We want to include the trail corridor through
Correct.
here.
That's trail.
And if they want to give us all of this piece, we were okay with that.
Okay. I hope that falls under staff's recommendation.
Yeah, and there's a note calling out, this area is suitable for PLD. See how it's circled?
Okay.
And what does that specifically call? I can't read that.
Well,
Planning
it's
area
not,
Planning area 3.
3.
I would say it's the east finger of planning area 3, because all of this blue is actually planning area 3, including these little pieces over here.
Planning area 3. Okay.
So essentially, we just don't want the peninsula there that is shown on.
Yeah, this is where we definitely don't feel is suitable.
So the planning area 2 peninsula that is on the southwest portion.
Yeah, in the original drawings, planning area 2.
Okay. But now it's 3.
So that one's pretty, it's got a lot of little moving parts that are difficult to define.
Yeah, now you know why surveyors make good money.
So Mud Creek starts over there off on the other side of Crossover, north of Mission, goes through Paradise Valley Golf Course. And then this section, it flows into Clear Creek to the west.
Yeah, Neocoska Creek flows into this.
Yeah, but that section is really nice. I think it could really be featured.
Yeah, it's really, you ride down that path and you don't have very many options to see it. So some greater visibility would really be nice.
Doug, what did you want to say?
I just wanted, first time I've come across this since I've started, is there a simple formula for calculating the blend between parkland and fee? How much of each?
There's, so each multifamily unit is 0.02 acres. Now, the fee in lieu is $952. So,
Per unit?
per unit. So if they give X amount of acres, you can see how many units that takes care of, and then whatever's remaining would be fee in lieu.
So we last did it in 2019, right? Is that when we last updated it?
I believe so.
So this, of course, is making me think we need to, I mean, not on this one, of course, but we need to redo it again, especially with inflation. But are we waiting until the master plan is done first? Because we really need to have an expert come in and tell us.
Right.
Yeah, I think a while back, we kind of looked at it and just said it's good for now, which we're supposed to look at it every 2 years. And, at some point, we would need to do that again coming up. Doesn't mean we have to do anything, and it was a big.
No, we need to do something about it.
Yeah, I don't know if what needs to be done is we're changing the whole structure.
Right.
And that's fine, but I want to get this master plan done so we can do all these other things, because I feel like we're just like, it's like beaver dam of things that are backing up now.
We expect to see some recommendations come out of the master plan that gives direction on how to address their parkland mitigation ordinance.
I want to have this done by this year, or you think that will happen, because we've already pushed it back from August to like.
The master plan or the?
Yeah, the master plan, obviously, since I've been on the board, since before I've been on the board, it was.
Yeah, the master plan should be done by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's how much per unit for fee in lieu?
$952.
That's for multifamily.
Okay, so the 0.02 acres per unit, that's 6.62 acres. And so if the blue section there for the tree preservation, I mean, the Parks Department would have no problem with taking that and preserving the trees.
Well, you can't double dip.
You can't.
Oh,
There's gotta be
okay.
different.
Yeah,
And
one or
as,
the other.
Oh,
One or the other.
as I understand it, they have more tree preservation than they need. So, they may want to add more parkland, and that would be a place they could do that.
so all the blue is tree preservation? Is that the color?
In this unofficial drawing, which is their recent one, yes, the blue represents tree preservation, including those pieces over there and strip going down in here.
Yeah. I think there's some big sycamores back there. It's been a while since.
There's a lot of sycamores in there.
Okay, so Sonia, can you read us this good jumble that we've made so far?
Brady made a motion to approve staff's recommendation, including that the PLD accept the area directly to the south with buildings and parking lot as not suitable and allow to use fee in lieu as well. Also accept the trail east finger of planning area 3 as parkland.
Do you want to change any of the wording on there? Since it is your motion.
I'm relying on staff here, so I would make an amendment if they had a recommendation.
And we spelled accept ACC, right? Not EC.
EXC.
Yeah, EXC.
I think you might want to say include trail corridor and east finger because they're kind of separate.
Include.
Trail corridor to the south and the east.
Well, that's the only trail corridor there.
Trail.
Of course, east finger could be that one up there on the
south
right.
and accept the trail.
No,
east
that's
finger.
just a blow up.
It's good for effect.
So you also include trail corridor to the south and
The east finger.
east finger.
The one on the right is just a blow up of the
Three.
south thing.
South.
Oh.
East finger. And the east finger of tree preservation area.
Yeah.
Interesting, I have that.
Mm-hmm. It's not blown up.
It's confusing.
It's literally the same size.
Preservation area as parkland.
Also, the
Oh, yeah,
developer
maybe
may
that's what it's
include.
trying to show you.
Put it right
It's
here.
not if it's down to the road.
Yeah, put the developer may include, because we're not saying you have to do it.
Correct,
We're
yeah.
saying you,
Development may include, okay.
all right, read it one more time.
Okay, Brady made a motion to approve staff's recommendation, including that the PLD accept the area directly to the south with buildings and parking lot as not suitable and allow to use a fee in lieu as well. Also, the developer may include trail corridor to the south and accept trail east finger of tree preservation area 3 as parkland.
If staff is okay with the motion, I am okay with my motion. Are you okay with your second? Very good.
You are okay with it? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so we need a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Number 2.
Oh, this one's simpler.
Yeah, hopefully this will be a little quicker and simpler. All right, this is over by, North Gregg, I believe. And it's a piece, this is getting right up near Johnson. I think the property boundary of the city's somewhere right about here. So this is from South Duncan Development. The engineer is Olson, and we have Rusty Cannon on the line too. If y'all have some questions for him, so thank you, Rusty, for hanging in there. Site's about 5.8 acres. The developer is requesting fee in lieu. Proposed number of units is 204. So that would equal about 194,208 for fees. Here's the site plan that they have for how they're proposing to use the site.
So that's a pool and then just open use green space, or those little tiny golf greens?
Those are actually little putting greens.
Okay. And then is that a tennis court adjacent, or the
I think this is a pickleball
court?
Ball court.
Yeah, I got a couple questions or comments actually. My name is Coan. It's spelled wrong on the for the record. And then I guess, can you go back to that last slide where you had the owner up there?
Sure.
That's not the current owner. I don't know who South Duncan Development is.
Oh, sorry, that was what was on the document I was looking at. Can you correct that for us?
Yeah, I think, well, this whole property, it's about 17 acres, kind of on this northeast corner of Gregg and Van Nuys, has been submitted for a preliminary plat. The current owner of the property is Steel Crossing Investment 3 LLC. Again, part of the preliminary plat, they are putting in access, road, sewer, creating multiple lots there. This northern, it's about 6.7 acres, is for it's a 55 and older housing development. And I think ultimately that owner will be a group called TLC Properties. Again, they don't have a lot yet to purchase. So this, again, when I get through with this, hopefully this will be tied to the large scale development of the multifamily, not the preliminary plat and improvements that are in front of or going to technical plat committee. If that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Do we have any questions for him?
Rusty, everything else that we talked about was correct?
Yes. Again, the current owner, I sent you some information. I guess still have a question as to some of that area down in the Skull Creek trail area was donated, I guess. I think we came to that term, donated versus dedicated, when the original developer did this business park out here. So I guess question would be, does that property kind of count toward the park dedication?
We reviewed the files and we could find nothing that tied that donation to this development. And it apparently was a donation because they talked about IRS documents and so forth, which would have made it not a dedication. at that point too. So there hadn't been anything that we've been able to identify to link the two. If there's something that you come across and it changes that, we'll of course be happy to look at that.
Okay, yeah, because this property, again, the total 17 plus acres is part of the PMN business park over there. This is, I think, just phase 3. There were, two other phases just east of the property over at Van Nuys and Steel. All of those medical buildings kind of in that northwest corner of Van Nuys and Steel, and then I think some of the things there on Van Nuys Loop and Steel fell into that business park when that was initially, all that property was purchased. So I'll try to dig on that a little further. But again, I think, I think the original owner thought some of that was, again, dedicated to the city to be used for what it's being used for today as the bike trail down in there.
Okay, I'm fine with what's recommended here as the fee in lieu. And so I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we accept the fee in lieu here.
Second.
Got a second from Joel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
What kind of documents would you need to show for that property that it would count versus the fee in lieu?
Well, we have documents showing that it was donated, and it was for a business park, which the business park without residential. So we don't have anything that's tying it to this piece of land with any kind of dedication. So a dedication and a donation are two different things. They're not the same.
And dedication's tied to residential.
Yes.
Tied to the development.
Yeah, it's meeting that requirement. So you can't dedicate land and then take a donation on it. That's not. You shouldn't, I guess. I don't believe it's allowed.
Even if this track was part of the business park there initially. And again, I think this track is urban thoroughfare, which is what's allowing them to do kind of a mixed use development over here.
So Rusty's wondering if this part of this entire 3-track development had been previously covered under some kind of dedication.
But it wasn't, because it came through as a business park, so there was no dedication required. The land was donated.
Okay.
And yes, it was used for a trail corridor because that's what was needed at that time, and that's what was worked out with the developer at that time. This land would be donated and used for a trail corridor, but there would be no dedication requirement.
And just to be clear, the dedications are specifically related to residential.
Residential.
Yeah.
Because it's for the use of residents, and so that's why this expressly doesn't qualify. Not only was it a donation, which would be something separate in the first place, but this is the first residential, so something that a business park does isn't going to be effective for a residential dedication. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay.
Hey, Ted, do you know the story on this piece here?
That's Johnson.
That's Johnson. That's why it's okay. Well, there you go. So we could, it'd be nice if we could put the trail through there. Along Mud Creek. Instead of on the road.
I'd say also on this plat, we've got a trail easement dedicated on the north side of Van Nuys to get people from the south, from our multifamily to the south and over to the trail there.
Great.
That's the part south. It sounds like the developer has done a terrific job in keeping that space protected, but it just doesn't qualify.
Yeah. I mean, if they do come up with some document we're unaware of, we'll come back.
Sure.
I guess.
That was part of it in the C1.
Okay.
All right, Rusty, you good?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, just want to make sure that it's tied to the, the large scale development
Johnson
on
from
that
south of Joyce.
multifamily piece not be just a preliminary plat here with the infrastructure improvements
Okay. I think staff will be in contact
from
with you.
from an in the system building standpoint?
Okay. Staff will be in contact with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rusty.
I don't have anything further then.
All right.
Yeah, that one.
Thank you, Rusty.
This was just the city of Fayetteville.
Okay. We've done that. So strategic master plan and construction update. Ted?
All right, let's see, jump on into there. Real quick, the rockfish, the 5 that Benvenuto was working on are about finished. So we're probably gonna move these to Wilson Park, just put them near the stream until they end up in the stream. But these people will be able to enjoy them. And then if you've been out to Gregory Park, the walking stick that ORC got Jason Jones to work on has been done. It looks really cool.
I love it.
Yeah, I can't wait till he does the last one that's out there, last wood ramp.
What's the?
Kessler, we're at substantial completion. So we're looking at probably a ribbon cutting on, was it September 5th or so?
Ish. Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Got out.
We'll let you know as we get closer. But anyway, it's nice to be getting to the end of this one.
You guys have done a great job there.
Well, thank you.
I think even with the hillside remediation, I think that's looking good. I think the ball fields look great. I understand that probably Fayetteville Youth Baseball will be excited to have some fall ball out there.
Yeah.
So you guys done a great job, and I think it's a good addition to Kessler.
Yeah.
And the parking is sufficient for
Well, we'll be
8 fields of baseball players?
we'll be testing that hypothesis.
How many more extra spots that we built?
208 that we added, plus there's one benefit is some of the
parallel
trail
parking.
parking is going to be able to move, which will help. But we were fortunate. Crossland Heavy Contractors has been a good contractor. They've really done a good job, and we're appreciative of their work up there.
Ted, were there any items that were maybe not budgeted for that would need to be added?
Yeah, I may speak to that. Michael Ferguson, president, reached out to us recently with a few items, including L screens, potentially some enclosure fence by the padding cages, and some portable mounds in the padding cages, and I think they're proceeding with purchasing those.
Sorry, what screens?
L screens, they're protective screens for pitching.
Oh, okay. I know what
It's an
I know.
L, so
Okay.
just fits right through it.
I thought you said hail.
Sorry, L. That's-
And when you say protective fencing behind the batting
I think there's a
cages?
gap on the northwestern corner that's not completely enclosed in. We need to figure out how to address it.
There is. I was up on the trail yesterday, and I think although we have gates that close that off, I think there could be an issue with some safety if folks just want to walk around.
Certainly.
Yeah, we're going to pull a fence across those ends that are close to the mountain to fill that in. But, you know, when we bid these, we use deductive alternates to help stay in within our numbers, I guess you might say. Luckily, we didn't have to exercise any of those. We got the full bid when we did that, so we were fortunate. We brought this one in under budget, or on budget, which is
Right
good.
now is under budget. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I would not want to bid this right now. Oh, and then jumping to strategic plan, you know, they're working on the draft right now. We've got some inner things that we need to do to get them some more information, so we're kind of pushing on that to keep going. I believe the July is when they're supposed to have the draft ready for everybody to start to look at.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
Let's see that. Oh, y'all are ready to talk about HMR? So this is a record May was a record month, first time we've exceeded 400,000 in a month, and we're at 428,867, 20.8% over 2021. And if you look back to 2019, which was, first before COVID, we're almost exactly on top of that number, as you can see. Which might make you think that had COVID not been here, we might even be a little further along than what we are, but that's where we are.
Amazing that far back. But host a regional like that.
Yeah, if we had a regional and a super regional.
Yeah.
I mean, the main is probably regional for women's softball.
You have to adjust your chart one of these days.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah, that will be. Yeah, super regional would help maybe next year.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
May have the UCI race too. What was the date on that at Kessler? Cross country?
April.
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 I didn't hear your question.
The UCI at Centennial was in
Is
April.
that April?
I believe so.
I think it was April.
Okay.
All right, I'll go through announcements here. You got the YRCC, well, it's going on right now, Summer for Fun Kids Local Legends theme. Gully Park Concert number 5 per Sandstone, that's July 7th, Getting confused with this outdoor kayak polo, how's that going?
It's actually going to be our first one of the year. I think there's about 6 people signed up. It is a smaller capacity, so the launch of that program last year with some pretty good success and just kind of a continuation of it.
Okay, July 13th, we'll have that as well. July 11th through 15th, YRCC Summer for Kids Games Galore theme. We also have the Be Active Summer Camp at the Lake Fayetteville Marina. Gully Park Concert number 6, Brennan Lee, July 14th. July 15th, the Dive-In Movie 2, Meet the Mitchells. July 25th through August 4th, swim lesson session number 5 at Wilson Park Pool. July 18th through 22nd, Summer for Fun Kids Wonderful Water theme at the YRCC. July 18th through 22nd, Be Active Summer Camp, Lake Fayetteville Marina. We also have the Be Active Summer Tennis Camp at Wilson Park during that same time. July 25th through 29th, Summer Camp, Buddy Pegs, Week 4, Lake Fayetteville. July 27th, Outdoor Fayetteville Kayak Polo at Wilson Park. Summer Fun for Kids Camp Phase theme, YRCC. July 25th through 29th, Be Active Summer Camp, Wilson Park. And August 1st through 5th, Be Active Summer Camp, Wilson Park. Going over this did remind me of something. How's the water quality at Lake Fayetteville right now?
At which lake?
Lake Fayetteville, our notorious lake of summer issues.
I don't know that we have any current. I'd have to get with Alan Pugh to see if that's.
Okay.
And we did some sampling last year, but we don't have it this summer. We're expecting that effort to take over, I guess.
What department is Alan in?
He's in the engineering department.
Do they test it regularly?
He's the storm
schedule?
He's stormwater, and there is a project moving forward to develop a design to help improve water quality at Lake Fayetteville that is funded. Construction of it is not funded at this point, but the design portion of it is moving forward, so.
How does that work? What would that involve?
Well, so there are multiple ways to address water quality, and some of the ideas that they've explored to this point is potentially building like a forebay where Clear Creek comes into the lake to let stuff settle that then would then be like scooped out every now and then to get the muck and sediment out that has all the nasty nutrients in it that we don't want in the lake. That's one option, so they're gonna, explore some other ideas to see what might work best there, so.
Yeah, Olson Engineering was selected to work on it, so they'll be studying those different options.
Yeah.
Are we still getting feedback from that master?
I'm not sure. I think they.
Are we getting what?
So we've had, and I don't know if the rest of the members have had this, but people have said, some people have different ideas for what they want to see at Lake Fayetteville, even if there is a lake there. And I wanted to, with the master plan, make sure that we are approaching it in the right way going forward. Because if there is a large contingent that wants to rewild that area, we should know that now going forward, as opposed to using it going through with this other option of completely making the settlement base and everything like that. We've talked about this in multiples of these meetings, and I want to make sure that that's still something.
Yeah, I'll need to check with Alan to see where they are.
Okay. Because this is definitely a part where we're about to pour millions of dollars, and a right hand and left hand may be going opposite ways. And I want to make sure if we're spending millions of dollars, they both know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be up to date on what's going on with that.
With the study. Yeah. We will be, and we can keep you guys up to date. We'll be a stakeholder in that group as that design is happening, so, yeah.
I mean, like Fayetteville is one of our most used parks. People want to use the water, but
Yep.
I also don't want people to get sick off of that water.
Entire lake is surrounded by parkland, basically. I mean, almost
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah, I mean, the lake's part of the park.
The lake is part.
I do have one quick other question, and I may have missed it in the previous meeting or the minutes, but did we get soft surface trail maintenance hires? I know we had funding for them, and there was hope that they would be hired this spring originally. Were we able to hire anybody, or has any movement happened on that?
Yeah, the positions are funded. I don't know if we have people in the positions. I'll have to ask Byron. I know that he's been trying very hard to fill maintenance
Positions in general, I know
all
everything
through the
is
summer. I just don't know which
difficult to fill right now.
ones.
Kind of hit in my, not that I think my son will do it, but he's taking a year off from college, and he saw that position, and I said, well, if you want to be outside working a lot, it's a good one for you.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'll probably look for an office job.
We can follow up with
But,
you.
but, okay, well, I'm just curious, and if you could follow up on that for the next.
Volunteers with Ozark Cycling.
No, there's
are
two.
doing most of it now, right?
But yes, we're working on Sequoia rerouting that where that property came in.
Thank you.
Really good progress on that. Actually,
Yeah,
we got the whole corridor.
I saw it the other day. It's looking great. Yeah.
Your question reminded me that, Saddle Up had been closed. It's back open.
Awesome.
It's not gonna be open real long, cause when we get the other project going, we'll have to close it
I
back
haven't gotten
down.
out to Kessler since I've been back from a trip.
But-
I need to get out there.
I'd put a picture in here of when you walk out to where the slope, repair is. Suddenly you get this beautiful view out across the complex and all the way downtown. I don't know what happened. It just wasn't in there. Must not hit save or something. But anyway, if you up there, it's just really, really nice view.
It is one of, if not the prettiest view in all I was up there yesterday, Ted, so
Yeah.
I sent a picture to my wife and said, this is probably the prettiest view in the whole park.
Why is Saddle Up going to be closed again?
Because we got a project that's getting ready to bid, and when a contractor gets up there working on it, so he'll be out there actually doing some reconstruction of the
That's
trail
right, that area on
surface.
top of there where the slope was. Right?
Yeah, that came through, and part of the project, if the bids are good, is to kind of even make it a little seating area up there that people can kind of stop and enjoy that view a little bit
That'll
better.
be one of the trail crews one of the trail companies bidding on it, or is it?
One of the trail companies, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, seeing nothing else on the agenda, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.